Welcome everyone. England and France are the first of the big European leagues to kick off. They'll dominate our conversation today. Stevie Nicol and Craig Burley with me, Adrian Healy. We've got French football expert Julien Laurent also standing by to join us. We'll start in West London and the thorny issue for Chelsea, the defending champions, of Diego Costa's hamstrings. This is what Jose Mourinho said. He couldn't play the last game of the season. He couldn't play the first game of this year, and I don't know if he can play next Saturday or not. Well, without Diego Costa, what are the options? Radamel Falcao and Loic Remy, between the two of them in pre-season, well, nothing too spectacular, just the one goal for the Frenchman, Loic Remy. So let me bring it to you guys. How big an issue is this potentially for Chelsea?
I think it's potentially huge. I mean, looking at that, it takes me back to when Jose's first season back at Chelsea, when he had Torres and he had Demba Ba, who just couldn't hit a barn door. And of course that meant that they couldn't win the Premier League. Is it going to be that bad this time around? Well, I'm sure Mourinho hopes Costa gets fit, because if he doesn't, who knows? Could be.
You're saying Loic Remy's not a better player than Demba Ba?
Listen, if Loic Remy was fit, then he probably could be.
Well,
but last season, he was injured all the time. What happens if he...
last season?
What happens... Well, he's done nothing since he went to Chelsea.
I thought he's looked okay.
To let us think that he's going to be fit for the season.
Look, the bottom line here is, right, we're picking the absolute bones out of this from a Chelsea perspective. The bottom line is, if Costa's injured, the two players that are the replacements have both been brought in by Mourinho. He hasn't inherited those players. So it's his problem. If they don't perform, the buck stops with him, because he's brought Falcao in off the back of a poor season at Manchester United. He signed Remy late on last transfer window.
Are you as confident in those two players as Jose
Mourinho seems to be? Don't bother me. I don't care. I don't care if they score or not.
If you're confident in them?
If you're a Chelsea fan...
You can't be confident in Falcao for a start.
Well, no, but I've said all week on the show, if you've been watching, I still think Falcao has something left in the tank. Now, when Fernando Torres signed for 50 million sterling, $80 million, way back 3, 4, 5 years ago, whatever it was, he was a busted flush. And Abramovich bought him over the head of Ancelotti. It was stupid. I still feel, and maybe stupidly, that Falcao, given the players around him, has still got an opportunity to put last season behind him.
Julien, let's bring you in. I wonder if Chelsea are more dependent on Diego Costa than perhaps Manchester City might be on Kun Aguero, or Manchester United on Rooney to get them goals.
Yeah, I mean, we saw last season that once Diego Costa had those first incredible 6 months where he couldn't stop scoring, and after that he got all those injuries, and Chelsea struggled. You know, they struggled physically without him, because that's what he does. He bullies the opposition defence, and they struggled also to score goals, and they had to rely a lot on Eden Hazard, who might not be able to do it 2 seasons in a row. Cesc Fabregas also at the deep of form, you know, maybe linked to the absence of Diego Costa as well. And the boys maybe are right. Maybe Falcao and Remy are not enough just on their own to cover the absence on the long term of Diego Costa. I agree with Craig. I still think Falcao could come good. I think Remy could be useful like he was last season. He had some good goals in good games, especially away at Hull City, for example, who he won them the game that was crucial in the title race. But overall, it'd be a big worry if Diego Costa was again to miss 3 or 4 months of action.
Well, Julien, staying with you, let's see if those worries over Diego Costa are enough to impact your pick for the top 4. Who's going to win it all? Who's going to finish just behind them for you?
I still think Chelsea are going to win it. I'm obviously, you know, relying on Costa being fit for most of the season. I think Hazard is going to have another very good season. I think Falcao, like I said, you know, could become good as well. Defensively, they'll be very strong, especially if they sign John Stones as well from Everton in the remaining of the transfer window. And if Jose rotates a bit more his team, which I think was one of the problems last season, especially, you know, in the last 6 months of the season, if he rotates a bit more, I think they will be very, very difficult again to beat. I think Arsenal will finish short once again and will finish second in the league. I think Peter Cech is a very good signing. Alexis would have another very good season, but again, they will come short. I will put United in third and Manchester City in fourth, simply because I don't think Manchester City are going to defend much better this season than they did last season, which was the problem. I cannot believe they didn't strengthen their squad defensively, and despite Raheem Sterling arriving, and that's a very good signing, I still think, you know, for the weaknesses they've had defensively, they're only going to finish fourth.
Julian, moving across London, the Karim Benzema to Arsenal rumours won't go away, will they? Despite Arsene Wenger denying it, despite Benzema's agent denying it, despite Real Madrid denying it. Any truth to these rumours for you?
No, I don't think that there is any truth in them. I do think that it's maybe one of the transfers that could happen next summer, and for one simple reason. Real Madrid have no one to replace him. You cannot let Karim Benzema go if you've got no replacement already in place or about to be signed. It would be completely stupid for Real Madrid to get rid of, one of the best strikers in the world, on August the 8th. With the season starting in a couple of weeks in Spain. So I don't think he's going to go. Maybe next summer, when Real Madrid could prepare the player who's going to come after him. But he's so important as well in their starting 11. We saw how him and Cristiano Ronaldo link up, for example. He's very important for Cristiano in Cristiano's season. I don't think they will let him go, but maybe next summer.
What about the goalkeeper dominoes set to fall, Julian? If David De Gea does make that move to Madrid, is French goalkeeper Hugo Lloris going to be the man to replace him at Old Trafford?
I think this one will happen. Sorry, Adrian. I think David De Gea will end up at Real Madrid. I think that's inevitable, especially with only 1 year left on his contract. And Hugo Lloris is his perfect replacement at Manchester United. I do believe that Lloris and United have already spoken. It's pretty clear that Lloris wants to play Champions League football, something that he doesn't have and didn't have with Tottenham Hotspur since he joined the club 3 years ago. He's been quite clear with the club and Daniel Levy, the chairman, saying, listen, you can't keep me at the club. I want to play Champions League. And I think that's pretty clear between him and Levy that if the good offer comes, and it will come from United, then he will join the club.
Stay right there, Julian, because with Angel Di Maria ready to turn it on again, are the team from the City of Lights going to illuminate Europe this year? So Di Maria, a done deal. Angel landing in Paris to join PSG, part of the £44 million transfer from Manchester United. Interesting words from the PSG president upon Di Maria's arrival, saying by signing him, PSG is once again showing the club's constant ambition to reach the summits of the European game. So, Julian, it appears the gauntlet has been laid down. It's Champions League or bust for Laurent Blanc's team this year.
Yeah, it will be the main objective of the season. Retaining the league, obviously. The domestic cups in France as well. But doing better in the Champions League will be the main objective. They were out in the quarterfinals the last 2 seasons under Laurent Blanc. This year they have to do at least the semi-final. And I believe Angel Di Maria is, a step forward, a step towards being able to compete with the big guns of European football, the likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid or Bayern Munich. He will improve this team, there's no doubt. He's the kind of player who could help the team to get to the next level. We need PSG to get the Di Maria from Real Madrid, or from 2 seasons ago, the one who was a key player in getting them to the Champions League win, like the famous La Decima, not too much Di Maria of last season with Manchester United, who, despite having 10 league assists, which only Hazard and Fabregas did more than that, didn't have the greatest season. So if PSG can get that Di Maria back to full fitness, to his best potential, then I really believe they'll be a step closer to competing with the big guns of Europe.
Can they, though, Julian? Can they? When you look at their squad, their potential starting 11, can they compete with those big guns? They've got to find a way past Barcelona and Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. Can this squad do it?
Well, that's the big question. I still think they're a bit, below all those big teams that you mentioned. But last season, no one thought they could beat Chelsea, especially with the second leg away from home. And they still did it with 10 men against 11. So, I don't think it's impossible. I think they're getting closer, that's for sure. And when you think of, front three of Di Maria, Cavani and Ibrahimovic, that is pretty special as well. Maybe in midfield, they just don't have enough talent there, but I think variety and maturity are getting there. Defensively, if David Luiz and Thiago Silva are back to their best, I think they can cope with a lot of opposition strikers. So I think they will have a chance. If they get a bit of luck in the draw, I think we can see them at least in the semi-final.
There aren't many teams, boys, that the likes of Javier Pastore and Lavezzi wouldn't get into. PSG, their odds to win the Champions League, 5th favourites according to Bet365, behind Chelsea and the big three mentioned, ahead of the 2 Manchester clubs and Arsenal. Is that about right for you?
Yeah, I know. When you've spent that amount of money, you should be up there in the hunt. I don't think they're in the class of Real Madrid, Bayern Munich,
Still not,
and
no?
Barcelona. No, I don't. And listen, you signed a player in Di Maria who didn't have a great year last year, and I just got to question if he had the stomach for the fight. I mean, he's gone to France. PSG pretty much dominated across the board last year. It was a rebuilding job at Manchester United. He was going to have to dig in, roll his sleeves up to get a place in the side and show that form that he showed from Real Madrid. And I don't think he wanted to do that. And I think Van Gaal realised that as well, and he thought, I'm going to try and cut the losses here. We'll sell the player on, let him go, and we will move on. I'm quite disappointed in how it all turned out, to be fair.
Can they kick on? Can they go further than the quarter-finals? Julian mentioned they haven't been able to get past that stage.
I don't see how they do. You know, listen, Di Maria is a great player, but they already have great players going forward. For me, their problems in the biggest games are in the middle of the park. You know, as good a players as Verratti and Matuidi and Mota are, they're not playing for either Bayern, Barcelona or Real Madrid. They're just not. And they don't get enough of the ball that the other team strikers do. They don't see enough of it, particularly in the Champions League. And for that reason, other than a lucky draw, I don't see them getting... They might not even get to the semi-final.
They went down to 10 men last year against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge and did really well. Julian mentioned Thiago Motta. Thiago Motta ran the show in that second half, but Mourinho got it so wrong. I mean, that 10-man PSG outplayed Chelsea, so Mourinho really had to look at himself. I think if the two teams played again, it might be a different result, but I think they're not too far apart in terms of quality. The other three, for me, they're out of it.
Let's turn to domestic matters in France, Julian. This is how they finished behind PSG last year. Lyon and Monaco were the finish. Marseille and Saint-Etienne 4 and 5. Bordeaux have been a factor in recent seasons. Lille. What do you see happening behind PSG in terms of this season's championship?
I think they will have three teams for the last two remaining Champions League spots. I think Monaco, Lyon and Marseille are obviously going to find to finish second and third. Marseille have kept Marcelo Bielsa, which was something they really wanted to do. He had a fascinating first season, starting so well. He really stole the show in Ligue 1. The team crumbled a bit in the last 5 or 5 months of the season, but that's what Marcelo Bielsa's team do, in the league football. So I expect him to have a better season. He lost, some good players. André Pierre-Gignac went to Mexico. Andre Ayew went to Swansea. He also lost Imbula to Porto, Morel, Fanny, but also they recruited a lot of younger, hungrier players as well, like Monquillo, for example. Rekic came from Manchester City, and they've got still a very good young squad. I think they will be there for the second and third spot. I think Monaco will have a very good season. We saw last season what they could do, especially defensively, and I think we're going to see much of the same. And then Lyon, can they reproduce the incredible form they had last year? I don't think so. I don't think Alexandre Lacazette could have another incredible season like he had last year, but they will be again up there fighting for second or third spot.
Going to put you on the spot, Julian. Give us your top three.
PSG top, no problem. I think Monaco will finish second and Marseille third.
What about those last two you mentioned, Monaco and Lyon, because they will have the Champions League to contend with as well. It's not just PSG with European ambitions. How far can those two clubs go this season?
Yes, I mean, it's very interesting. Monaco showed last season that, when you've got a very, very strong defence and they were the best defence in the Champions League, you can get far. They got a bit lucky against Arsenal in the last 16. They caused troubles to Juventus in the quarterfinals as well. And, on another day, might have even gone through. So they will have to be very strong defensively again this season in the Champions League and be a bit more efficient up front. But I think they will cause problems to a lot of teams. And for Lyon, that's the big question. I'm not sure really what they can do at that level. I'm waiting to see what Lacazette can do. Can he score in the big games in the Champions League? I'm not so sure. They're still a very, very young squad. For most of those players, they've never played in the Champions League, or only a few games each. Depending, on the draw they get, that'll be the key. But I'm really excited to see that young squad of Lyon in the Champions League with the big guns.
It is about time we talked about a team that doesn't have to worry about the Champions League. Liverpool. Good news on the Anfield injury front, but do they have what it takes to compete? It's what you've been waiting for. In the next edition of ESPN FC, you will finally get to hear Craig Burley and Steve Nichols' Premier League prediction.
Oh, can't wait. Been building
Have you figured them out yet? You've still got 24 hours. Daniel Sturridge looks to be on his way back. He was supposed to be out until October after hip surgery in May. Spent the summer in the US. Now talk that he could in fact be back for September the 12th against Manchester United. And Stevie, when you look at Liverpool's current sort of attacking half of their roster, looks pretty good on paper, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think on paper it does. Unfortunately, the game's played on grass, so we got a bit of a problem. It really depends how quickly the likes of Firmino and Benteke, along with Coutinho, can get adjusted to each other. If they can get that done quickly, then this team's got goals in it, unlike last year where they just struggled up front.
Every chance that Barini and Balotelli might not be on that list in a couple of weeks' time. But
And look, I don't think there's any room for Brendan Rodgers to say to the Fenway Sports Group, who they are the American owners of Liverpool, I need time to gel these players together because that's running a bit thin. Now, they backed him the last time and it was pretty much failure. They've backed him again this summer. They've gone and spent, they've brought players in, and he, out of most in the Premier League, needs to get off to a good start. Now, are they capable with some of these players? Potentially they are, but with Steve and I have been talking, it's pretty much the unknown. What Benteke's going to turn up? How's Firmino going to handle the Premier League? Where's Milner going to play in that team? No Steven Gerrard in the dressing room, so there's quite a few unknowns in there.
Yeah, again, if you look at the middle of the park as well on paper, I think it's strong. You know, Chan's going to have to step up, but he's got some ability and he's got some strength. You know what you're getting from Milner.
You've changed your tune.
You know what you're going to get from Henderson. Again, the three of them are going to have to get together with the front three and join with the back four for Liverpool to be successful and for Brendan to keep his job.
Getting something from Milner where? Where's he going to play?
In the middle
last year you were saying Chan was a nightmare in the middle of the park. All of a sudden...
Chan played at the back last season.
Yeah, because when he played in the middle, he wasn't cutting the mustard, so he moved him back.
He wasn't. He played in the back because the back four were horrible and he turned it into a three.
You've got selective memory.
Chan played one game. He played against Real Madrid in the middle of the park and I didn't think he was good. So we're talking one game. No, I'm telling you, he's got to step up.
Emery Chan fan now.
He's got to step up and do well. But if him and Henderson and Milner do what we know they can, and that is get up and down and work hard, and add a little bit of ability to that hard work, then they've got a chance.
And if Sturridge can get back to where he was 2 years ago?
I don't think you can even contemplate getting Sturridge back. It's for a guy who, if he looks at a football, gets injured, you have to wait till he's 100%. I don't think Brendan can have any thoughts whatsoever, I'm going to get Sturridge back. Certainly not in September.
Chan, Henderson and Milner wouldn't get in, for me, wouldn't get in any of the other midfields in the top four teams.
No? Not even a sniff?
I don't think they would at the present time either. That doesn't mean to say that they're not going to do well.
Well, what's doing well?
Doing well. Doing well is making a good start, getting themselves in and around the top four. Because Liverpool have got a horrendous start. They've got Arsenal, Man United away the first, 5 games?
Yep.
That's a tough start.
Toughest start of any Premier League team, right?
And you're throwing those, not only are you throwing those three together, you're throwing the other three up top together. So it's, as you said, it's the unknown, but are they capable? They could be.
Well, you've left that quite open.
That's what we do best.
You said it yourself.
That is what we do best on this show.
You said it was unknown.
Leaving things open to interpretation.
He does.
What we can tell you for sure is that Edin Dzeko will not be part of Manchester City's bid. Greeted by 5,000 people he was today in Rome, landing... it says 3,000 now. I was told 5,000. There were several thousand in attendance.
Well, I'll tell you what, it looks as if there's about 50 people there to me, not 5,000.
We talked about Liverpool on paper. What about City on paper? What's your take? Just Aguero and Bony, is there options up front?
I think that's the big thing that stands out, isn't it? At the same time, they're not bad options.
No.
And when you only play with one up front, it's not the worst pairing to have. They certainly would rather have more than that, but...
Is that enough ammunition, Craig, for you to get you to a Premier League title?
No, it's not. And Yaya Toure was talking of him going to Inter. It's almost when Yaya fancies it. We'll see if Sterling fits in there and takes it like a duck to water. You never know when you move club. They paid big money for him. That Achilles heel for me, apart from the fact the two fullback positions I'm not quite sure about, the centre-half position I am.
Well, as I say, we're looking at the midfield and forwards. Defence seems to be the main question.
Mangala and Di Michaelis.
Diego Godin, we're told, has snubbed Manchester City. They were after him, the Uruguayan centre-back.
Well, company's not been great the last couple of years, but in fairness to him, he's not had a pretty for Mangala. Somebody needs to be dragged over some hot coals.
Can he not come good in his second season in the Premier League?
Second
season syndrome?
I said that I thought that he and Man City would come back, But having watched them in pre-season, and again we say pre-season, they're actually worse than they were last season in pre-season. That can give nobody any confidence whatsoever.
I like to the fact that there will be constant talk if City get a couple of bad results about the manager from the first week or two, or first month of the season. There'll be talk about Guardiola, there'll be talk about that changing. He's got to get these guys gelled together and get them going fast, because he's a man under pressure. What was it Xhaka called him this week? The dead man walking.
You know what other managers has been a lot of talking about? Well, you know the two. They're not talking to each other, but the Premier League chief has had his say on the handshake that wasn't. Now, I know you've been thinking about it, you've been considering it, not long to make your selections. The Premier League fantasy team season starting in a matter of hours. Get your team in, play against us at ESPNFC.com. Meanwhile, on the handshake that wasn't, Richard Scudamore, Premier League chief executive, said what would be worse is a meaningless handshake where it meant nothing. The authenticity is far more important. If there's some enmity between you, that is for the individuals to decide, not me. So he clearly doesn't have a problem. Steve and Craig didn't have a problem with this the other day. What about you, Julien, as a committed Frenchman? Did you have a problem?
I don't have a problem at all with it. They don't like each other. Why should they be forced to shake hands if they don't want to? Just let them do, what they want. If they want to shake hands, they can shake hands. If they don't want to, they don't have to. Actually, I was at the game on Sunday. I found it quite amusing to see how they were trying to avoid each other, trying to provoke each other as well. And, I think there was not much more to that.
Listen, the only handshake Richard Scudamore's interested in, and he's done a brilliant job, is that handshake with broadcasters around the world that has brought in billions of pounds for the Premier League and made it the richest league in the world. All under his tenure,
that, isn't he?
Well, that's his job, and that's what his main concern is. Do you think he's bothered about whether managers shake hands or not? No, he's not.
What about Slaven Bilic? Was it his job to get West Ham forward in Europe? Because they haven't gone forward, they've gone out to Romanian opposition. And
Slaven Bilic has achieved what he wanted to achieve. He's got West Ham out of the Europa League and all those travels to Eastern Europe and beyond in this nonsensical group stage on a Thursday to come back and play on a Sunday and have players injured and not fresh for the Premier League.
Was it the right thing to do? Was it to totally dismiss this competition?
Absolutely, 100%. I think it's a smart move. I haven't heard any manager yet who wants to play in it. Slaven's going in there. He wants a settled year under his belt to sort his team out and get them settled in the Premier League. He doesn't want to be travelling away on a Thursday, playing on a Sunday, all that nonsense.
It's just
smart move.
Something
and the
rubs
right
against
move.
the grain, though. You fight all season long to finish 5th or 6th or 7th and get into this tournament. West Ham did it by fair play. But
well, I get that, but this UEFA tournament has to look at itself and try and re-look at its format to try and make it a little less tenuous for some of these teams. I mentioned Roberto Martinez yesterday. Everton finished 11th in the Premier League. They were chasing their backsides around Europe for half the season.
After being in the Europa League, yeah.
After playing in the Europa League. West Ham don't want that. Steve mentioned it. Bilic's first year. Get out.
And a tear being shed for Aberdeen as well, who won't be in